Well, good morning, everybody. Happy, yeah, some people call this Easter Monday, which I don't really understand what that is, but they were doing egg rolls and stuff for the White House this morning, if I understand that right. So whatever Easter Monday is, and however that's that we celebrated stuff, hiding Easter eggs and all that. Hope nobody's offended, but we've done that for years now with our grandkids and all that. But it's Resurrection Sunday, of course. That's the most important thing, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So that's what we were celebrating. And man, we watched some of these specials over the weekend of the crucifixion and resurrection, and it's like intense. We got right down to the crucifixion part, having watched a couple hours of this, and I just said, you know what, Dream? I've seen that before. I've watched the Passion of Christ. I just don't want to watch him suffer. So I didn't, but we'll watch it again when we see the part where Mel Gibson reenacts probably the crucifixion when he does the part two. I think it's called Resurrection, coming out next year, but I'll probably see it again. But I just couldn't bear to watch the suffering part of it yesterday. Anyway, we had a great time on Easter with the family, 13 of us. It was a good time. So welcome to the broadcast. We're going to bring in Dr. Scott Young. Did I say that right? I always call him Dr. Scott. And just a few moments, we changed up the way we're going to do this, where we will now run a special feature in the middle of our time talking with Dr. Scott. Then we'll take a break, got a special feature today that you're going to really enjoy. And then we'll come back and ask questions about Nasara, Jasara, the SAVE Act, all the stuff that's going on, the love you may want to know about. So, all right, with that in mind, the only other announcement we have is Donna Regney. We've always said Donna Regney, but now it's Donna Regney Sagan, if I'm pronouncing that right. Her husband went home to be with the Lord a couple of years ago, and now she's just remarried. And so it's Donna Regney Sagan. So that's tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Pacific. So, all right, I think those are our announcements. So welcome to the broadcast on this Monday, and let's go ahead and bring in Dr. Scott Young. So here's Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott, I never call you Dr. Scott Young, and I thought, did I?
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I mean, we say Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. That's her full-on name, and from that point on, it's Dr. Jan. She says lets me call her Jan when it's private, but
it doesn't matter how you call me.
I feel a certain respect for the people that have earned their doctorate. That I always kind of like to use it when I can. But I do tend to go to the first name. But anyway, welcome to the broadcast. I see you're growing a little bit of.
Yeah, my wife is not thrilled with it totally.
She doesn't.
I decided to do it a little bit. My son's kind of liking it. My wife is not thrilled with it exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Have you ever had a full beard or anything?
I've never really done. I did the mustache, and I did it all the way down here.
Yeah.
And then I shaved it off a long time ago, and then I decided to play around with it. I don't know. I'm messing around with it. I have we're going to be in Vegas in May 8 and 9. I'll kind of explain that in a little bit. And with Mary Crowley.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep it on through that little time frame. And then we'll see how my wife goes. Shave it off or not.
Well, when I was married in 1978, I always had a full mustache when I was married. It wasn't huge, but I mean, you could see it. I never tried to do anything else. Oh, that back when you had the sideburns, I had that pretty long.
The Star Trek sideburns?
Yeah, and the hair was over my ears because I had a decent head of hair. And then after about 15 years, everything was gone, and so I was totally bald, and then the mustache had to be shaved out by default because there was not enough left there. But so pretty much billiard ball. We were talking about Native Americans off the air, you and I, just a few minutes ago, and I had a dear friend, Richard Twist, who's a Lakota Sioux. And we did a bunch of conferences together. But people don't know about the Lakota Sioux. All Native Americans. They're very, very funny people. They're humorous. They like to joke around. You think of them as these fierce warriors, and they probably are, but they're funny. So I had him on the show, and I said one time, I said, what do you call that really long hair? Because his hair goes down to his waist. He grew it out, and he looks every bit the part. And he goes, because I'm thinking there's a special name for that. There must be a special name. He goes, we call it really long hair. And so then later on, he decides to nickname me, and he calls me Q-Tip from the platform. Thank you, Richard. Anyway, he was hilarious. He would say, he'd come up front and he'd say, I got my wife. His wife was as white as can be, blonde. Of course, he's with the Lord now, but he'd say, I got my wife in one of our raids. And he'll just he'll tell one of those things. He'll just sneak up on you. Okay, that wasn't our subject, but we just thought we'd get that. So, all right. Well, listen, we got some stuff for you to cover. You've got a PowerPoint, so you want to get into us what you're going to talk about today?
Yeah, so we'll bring it up on the screen and we'll kind of show you some stuff, and then we'll answer some of the fun questions with that too.
Yeah,
So,
sounds good.
all right. So we're going to talk about the SAVE Act, and you're going, yeah, but I thought we've talked about it before. Man, it keeps coming up. Promise you, it is so powerful. Trump is hitting it in many different fashions here with that too. So, by the way, just so you guys know, again and again, the QFS crypto, there is no such thing as that. I know you guys keep getting pounded on that kind of stuff. There is no such thing like that. Okay.
People are asking you, well, wait just a second. People are saying, what's the QSF crypto? And there's
everyone's kind of getting pounded. They see someone online and they see it, and I go, it is nothing. I don't contact you any other way. If you want to find me online,
I see.
DrScottYoung.com. That's the only real way.
Someone's contacting in your name saying,
yeah, it's not me. It's no one, no other fake person. Okay.
And let me take this advantage moment to take any time, especially on Telegram, that's the worst.
Steve or anyone else.
Yeah, if anybody tells you on their otherwise credible looking Telegram channel or whatever, you need to sign up to the QFS so you'll be ready. That is a con. They're after your money. If somebody tells you now they want you to sign up for the QFS so you'll be ready and you better hurry, they're going to try and get enough information out of you that they can steal your money. That's the only thing that's about. So never do that. When it's time, your bank account will be Quantum Financial by default.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny, these idiots will do it, and they'll do it to my wife, and I'm sitting right beside her, and they're acting like me, and they'll do it to my wife, and I'm like, dude, come on, man. And she'll kind of mess with them for a few minutes, and I'm his wife, and they'll finally knock off after a little bit. It's just dummy kind of
It's too
stuff.
bad how much conning there is. So, all right, well, what's going on in Vegas there?
So we have a conference in Vegas with Mary Crowley. There still is a sign up to do it. You guys can kind of go to marycrowley.com. You can go to DrScottYoung.com. There is a cool sign up on there.
What's it about?
There's going to be a whole bunch of cool people speaking on there. They're all different kind of speakers that are moving around. There's some new people coming on. We might have Donna Rigney. We don't know for sure. So
is it all about heaven? It says open the heavens. It's about
open the heavens. There are going to be a lot of different conversations. There are lots of interesting people that are going to be there with that too. Scott McKay is going to be there. Okay. Sheila's going to be there. So, you can sign up there. And if you'd like to look into that, we'd love to see you. And so definitely got to keep, the facial hair, at least through that time frame with that too. So
what's the deal? Why is that time frame? Just because you worked
I don't know.
So far?
Just a thought.
It's your cutoff day.
What I'm thinking. So that's just my target date.
But the overall subject is about heaven, you're saying?
Yeah, open the heavens, but we're going to be talking about a million different conversations out there.
Okay. It sounds like it may be financial stuff as well.
Financial, but we are going to be praying over people and doing a lot of fun things. So that's going to be fun with that one too.
Okay.
So one of the things I want to talk about is some of the stuff that Trump is doing, because he signed into executive orders ensuring the Citizenship, the Verification and Integrity Act. And this is something I was kind of hoping he would do. We've been talking about the SAVE Act, the ID portion of the SAVE Act. If you think about the SAVE Act, and we'll talk a little bit about this here, but the SAVE Act is about the ID that 75% or actually 76% of black voters, 70 I think it's like 75% of Democrats, 89% of Republicans. I mean, come on. I mean, how many people you have to go to get a massive
In,
majority
in
of
other
people?
words, for this issue, the SAVE Act, that they act like it's so controversial and hard to pass, and it is hard to
Yeah,
pass, but it's really the American citizens all want it by a large
everyone wants
majority.
it.
Yeah.
And so what Trump did is jumped ahead on a particular portion of it, is the mail-in portion of it. So I just took a little screenshot of the White House .gov kind of portion of it. And so
Okay.
what he did is that he went over and said, well, we're just going to do it from the federal, but it goes all the way down to the state level. And they're choking on their Wheaties over this conversation. They're freaking out about this. And let me show you specifically what this is. But I want you guys to see actually little videos. So if you guys could pop in a little video, that PA ballot transporting thing, because this is actually some of the reasons why. And it happened. This is back from 2020. So before I'm going to have you guys hear this little clip of a video, and it's just coming out right now, and you go, why didn't they show this 6 years ago, when they could have nailed on the wall
Mm.
all the Joe Biden stuff? So if you guys show the video.
All right. All right.
So, in total, I saw 24 gaylords, or large cardboard containers of ballots loaded into my trailer. These gaylords contain plastic trays. I call them totes, but trays will work, of ballots stacked on top of each other. After waiting 6 hours, I went inside to figure out what's going on. I was told to wait for the transportation supervisor. This was also weird. 16 months I've been doing this. I haven't ever talked to the transportation supervisor for the United States Postal Service. I talk to an expediter. I come in, I see an expediter, that's who I deal with. If I have an issue, it's the expediter. I don't deal with anyone else but the expediter. I never talk to the United States Postal Service's transportation supervisor. Let's make that clear. I have my own transportation supervisor for the company that I work for. He's the one that gives me the details. He's the one that I listen to. I don't listen to this guy. He's the guy that would contact my boss if he needed something ran different. I've never spoken with this transportation supervisor from the United States Postal Service. They don't speak to people like me. He's a top guy. He's the kind of guy that would speak to my boss, not a trucker like me. The supervisor told me to drive to Lancaster without being unloaded in Harrisburg. This made no sense to me. I knew the ballots were loaded for Harrisburg, and that if I was to go to Lancaster, they would have to off-unload my ballot, or those pallets, in Lancaster, to take off Lancaster stuff, to put the ballots back on the trailer, to send it back to Harrisburg. Doesn't make no sense.
So in essence, what he's going to is, and what I believe, I hope I got this right, is he's going from New Jersey to Lancaster, PA. And so, I look back on this. This is from this time frame would be from November of 2020, right?
Yeah.
Trump knew all about this, and we're going, why couldn't we have had this testimony in that time frame? And this is why I keep saying to you guys, this is part of a military operation. And I know it makes you mad.
Well, in other words, Dr. Scott, even what we just watched is part of the reveal. This had to happen so he could tell his story and what happened, and we can learn. It had to be done this way.
Yep.
Right.
You had to see the crazy. And so people, when I say this is part of the movie, and people get all upset when I say that, what I'm specifically stating as the movie is government, Hollywood, and the media. Those are the three parts of the movie I want you to focus on. That's it. Those are the things that you have to focus on, and that's why they reveal this would be specifically
Yeah.
government and media. Okay.
Well, in other words, really, to put it in, this would just be my words. It's like they could have stopped this because they knew it was going on, but they allowed themselves to be stolen. They allowed this election to be stolen so that you and I would learn what they've been doing to us for generations, basically.
Right. I mean, this particular thing they've been doing since, since effectively since the Kennedy slash, since
Yeah,
before the Kennedy administration, in
yeah,
essence, with that too.
yeah.
But here's what the mail-in ballot integrity executive order did. Okay, so what they did is they did a national citizen integrity system. So what they did is it directs the federal agencies, specifically DHS, and you just go, why is DHS right in front of our face all the time? Is to create a database of verified US citizens eligible to vote. Okay.
Okay.
And now here's the fascinating part. Just literally like 3 or 4 months ago, um, in um, in Oregon, there was, and I say PS. So in Oregon, now I've spent a lot of time in Oregon
Well, that's my
because my
state, so I'm always more interested. That's where we come from
and
here.
so in Oregon, my parents have spent some time out there, and then I've done some business trips out there. Portland is probably got, and I'm guesstimating here, it's like 900,000 people. And the rest of the state has got, maybe, Eugene's probably got like 600,000 or 700,000 people, and maybe 500,000. The rest of the state's only got maybe another million people. And they dumped from their databases 700,000 people. And you're going, that's got to be everyone in there. I mean, it's so crazy how many people they dumped from their databases.
Now,
And
when
I
you're saying
started,
they took it off and therefore didn't send them ballots, or what are you saying?
no, they flushed from their voting databases. So they've completely flushed out the voting databases and verified the citizens of Oregon. And that's incredibly blue state. I mean, that is a severe blue state compared to, any other state you could come up with. And so if you think of Oregon as a blue state and you think, well, that we know about Oregon, how many other states have already been done? And I would say to you, more than likely, almost all the states have already been done. This is the Scott idea. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to tell you, probably all the other states have already been done. We just heard about Oregon. Okay. But this is what they're telling you. See, if they're telling you about it, it's already been done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it also, part of this Integrity Act here, it limits the mail-in voting. Now, it doesn't mean, for instance, my dad is now in assisted living. He's 89. Now, my mom can go get a mail-in ballot for him. And what she would do is show, his ID. He can still vote. He's still mentally capable of voting. But what would happen is that it would instruct the post office to deliver a mail-in ballot to him. She would help him with voting, but he would also get the ballot. It would have an envelope and handling. There would be stamp sealings and the whole kit and caboodle. Now, I've already done a video about this kind of thing. I mean, this is already going on in Oklahoma, but I believe that it was actually done and shown off in Georgia by Secretary of State Raffensperger. And I know everyone is hating on Raffensperger. I believe that he was instructed to reduce his sentence down from the treasonous level. I believe that the military was told him to do it down to the lower level. I believe that very, very deeply.
Mm.
But this is part of the way that they're going to fix the systems out there. And then the third part of this is there's federal pressure on all of the states. So what it's going to do is compel the states to share the voter data with the federal agencies. It's going to align the election procedures to the new systems. And they're going to have monetary election points. If you don't do it, we're going to pin you with monetary threats that you will lose money, and it'll be the loss of money will be through DHS. And so they're going to get flicked in the head if you don't do your job there.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
Oregon is one of the absolute worst. It's has been mandatory mail-in for like something like 30 years. And as a conservative Republican, or sometimes I would call myself an independent, we would vote and vote and vote and vote. And almost none of those things ever turned into a successful vote. The deep state owned it all.
Right.
And we just, in the early years, we just thought, why is the state so blue? The state isn't that blue.
No,
They just made
it's
it look
not.
blue. All the farmers could have carried this, but
I mean, and
they
let
own
me
it.
tell you this, California, let's just give you an example. One of the things that they do to California, which is sick and hysterical at the same time, is that when almost every other state is, they tabulate the votes, they talk about, Georgia, they talk about Florida, they always show, by the time they show the election, they'll show California as 1% of the vote is already counted, and yet they'll show it blue instantaneously. And you're going, wait a second, you haven't even shown the vote, and you're already calling the state for the blue candidate, whatever it is, which is a type of gerrymandering, with that whole thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's part of the thing that they're doing. Now let's go back over to to the SAVE Act and the HR point here too. Now, one of the things that people still don't even know is that the SAVE Act was actually passed by the House in April of 2025, a year ago.
It's been that long waiting for the Senate to pass it then.
Exactly. And that's why when people don't understand, the Senate didn't even pick this up until the last couple months. The House passed this a long time ago. This is an easily readable set of these bills. All the bills that Trump has been writing and that the House and the Senate have been putting together are super readable. You can read them. There are no more of these 1,000-page bills.
Yeah,
super simple to read. Now, what they did is they passed it by 51 votes, but you have to pass it normally by 60 votes, and then it would have gone through that system. Now, they've been talking for about a year or so to get rid of the filibuster. And so because it didn't go to the 60 vote category, excuse me, they've been playing around with this filibuster point. But Trump has been telling you, preparing you that we need to kill off the filibuster.
And the whole time, by the way, let me just make this point.
Yeah.
He is effectively temporarily passed the SAVE Act all by himself. It's not a law yet, but he's passed it for this upcoming election by signing this executive order. But it's not it's not codified as a law, so it won't be law for the next one until Congress passes it. But he's basically said, "I'm tired of waiting. Here's executive order. We're not
in the mail order portion. He effectively did it. But here's what he actually can do.
Okay.
In the Constitution, in second article, section 3, he shall from time to time give the Congress information of the State of the Union. State of the Union just occurred, okay?
Yeah.
And recommend for the consideration such measures. Now, these are in capital letters, so it's very interesting how they capitalize some of these things. Such
Hmm.
measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. He may, on extraordinary occasions, convene both houses or either of them in case of disagreement with respect to the time of adjournment. He may adjourn them to such time as he think proper. So basically what that means, and I know this is slightly older levels of language because this
Hmm.
would be written in the 18th century. What this in essence means is he can go see if Senate doesn't want to figure it out, he can basically go, boop, you're out. I don't you guys are useless. I can take the SAVE Act based upon what the Democrats of the world want and the Republicans both want, and I can pass it without you guys. I can
Wow.
constitutionally do it.
And that was in the Constitution, or that's in his executive order?
This is in the Constitution.
Okay, wow.
So he can do it because now they're filibustering right now. They're playing around with the filibuster. It's already been passed by Congress, specifically by the House. It's if Senate can't do it, Article 2, Section 3 allows him the capability of passing it without need of them doing anything more.
Okay,
Now,
wow.
here's what happens. The Democrats are absolutely having a hissy fit. Okay. Schumer says things like, I'll see you in court. Republicans are complete phonies. We're challenging you, see you in court. Don't be fooled for a second. This is how they just have a hissy fit. But here's what happens. April 19th. This is a Q drop point.
Okay,
April
yeah.
19th. Will election fraud be revealed soon? See, when this kind of time frame in April 19th, 2018, and this was done, this would be done on 8chan kind of thing. Yes, midterms are safe. Watch California. Now, I would say to you at the time frame, why would in this particular time frame, why would Q say that the elections are safe? And I would have said, well, there's a couple reasons why the elections of even 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024, and 2026 are actually safe. It's because they actually were watching them.
Okay.
The Dominion machines were actually seen by the good guys. They knew everything that they were doing. Military was in charge of them. They were not getting away with anything, even though you feel like they were actually,
Well, and
supposedly
so to
doing.
clarify that point, why did they say midterms are safe, knowing that it was going to be stolen right in front of them and they were going to let them do it?
Well, here's what happens. Sometimes Q drops are referring to future points, and
Okay.
sometimes they're dealing with some of the past.
Like a future April 19, so to speak?
And it might be a future point. It might also be referring to a past. So it's hard to tell you
Okay.
specifically. No, could it be referring to a future point? Could it be referring to a past point? Hard to say. Now we know for a fact that executive order was actually written in September of 2018, and so Trump was actually going to protect the midterms of 2018, and he did. He wrote Executive Order 13848, so he actually did protect the midterms with the military executive order. So we know he did that. And we also know that this could mean something about midterms are safe for a particular time frame in the future.
Okay.
So it's hard to say exactly which way you might go on that one.
Okay.
But here's what I would put out to you this. Here's an interesting one that just went past its stale date too. April 2 of 2018. April, Iran, election integrity, a big month. Now, why would Iran be sitting in there? Iran had nothing to do in 2018. We had nothing to accomplish in 2018. When did it affect? It didn't affect our circumstance in 2018. It didn't have it in 19, 20, 21, 24. Didn't have any time frame. But now Iran is a big deal.
Well, somehow or other, the people that did the Q drops either were looking at a code that we're not discerning, or they knew what year it would be. They're just not
No, they
telling
just.
us what year.
I would say it like this: they knew that when we were ready for Iran to militarily affect.
Okay.
They're not mind readers. They're not future prognosticators.
I see what you're saying. They know that that event will need to happen before.
Exactly. See, some
Okay.
people think that they're part of Looking Glass and they're mind readers, they're world readers. That's just stupid. The reality, what they are, is they were going, we need to do these kinds of things on the list.
Yeah.
Like put it to you this way. I have something called on my calendar list. It's something called reminders. Okay. If you have an iPhone, you have a reminder list. And I can actually put on there a laundry list of things that to be done. Okay. And the military does this kind of thing as well. Now, or that little list, okay? But they have a big list of things, and they tick those things off, okay? And if you get really complicated, they're going to go through those lists, and that would be the case too. So they're going to have to go through and see some of these things are FBI, DOJ, Mueller. Well, those things actually got dealt with in many ways. Okay.
Yeah.
So Iran would be a part of those as well.
So the point is, they knew which events had to take place between that date they wrote that and, let's say, today's date.
Right.
And so they put them in there, but they didn't necessarily all happen in that exact order. They just all happened.
Right. And these are not trying to tell you specific time frames.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to tell you that. For instance, immigration bill. Well, we're dealing with immigration, right? We've already dealt with border wall, military start, but big month. Okay.
Yeah.
Therefore, I do kind of believe that we are in those, a short time, kind of point with that too.
Yeah.
So let's end with that little video here as we finish off this. We can kind of we'll close this part out and let you listen to this other little video as well. Yeah.
All right.
No radical left Democrat politician has ever been able to explain why their party is so rabidly opposed to voter ID. And that's the biggest giveaway of all, that they are cheating on a monumental scale. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. For years, Democrat politicians have claimed that voter ID is racist, but there's nothing racist about an ID. And the suggestion that Democrat voters are incapable of getting driver's licenses is one of the most offensive ideas in American life today. What century are these radical Democrats living in? Americans of all colors and creeds are fully capable of obtaining identification, which is required to drive a car, buy a beer, see an R-rated movie, get on an airplane, get a bank account, check into a hotel, and even to get cold medicine at a pharmacy. Over 80% of Americans support voter ID, yet in the last Congress, every single Democrat in the House of Representatives voted to ban voter ID nationwide. So the House of Representatives votes, and all of the Democrats voted to ban voter ID nationwide. That's because they cheat. And with their policies, which are so bad and so destructive, especially to our cities, our inner cities, no wonder they have to cheat, because nobody could get elected with those policies. In the anti-Democrat party, only two things are sacred: open borders and no voter ID. They want open borders to destroy our country, and they don't want voter ID because they want to cheat. There's only one reason why you'd support either of these insane ideas, and that's because you intend to cheat like crazy, and that's what they do. When I'm reelected, we will secure our borders, and we will launch a nationwide campaign to get voter ID in every federal, state, and local election. What we really want to do is get down to paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID, and we're going to have safe elections again. Thank you very much.
Very
And what's
good.
fascinating about this point, and we can go to your commercial with that too. What's fascinating about this point is he did that video in 2024. He's telling you all the things. He already knew what they were going to do because
Yeah.
they're so transparent.
Yeah, so good. All right, we're going to go ahead and run, and we call it an ad, but this one's not an ad. It's a feature that it's also in Uganda, but it's more than some sort of commercial. It's like this is a story that just happened, and it's a very fascinating feature. That's why we call them a feature instead of an ad. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and run that feature. This one's a little longer. It's about 5 minutes, and then we'll be right back with Dr. Scott. We're going to do Q&A, question and answer, some of the most popular thing we do with Dr. Scott. So, all right, let's go ahead and run that feature. Here we go.
In many rural villages in Uganda, as water resources teams are surveying for water, it's common to see young children around who should be in school. That's because, unlike other children, they simply have no access to education. Parents may be too poor, or worse, maybe there are no parents at all. So these children just miss out and may never have the chance to learn. But in this village, one small, quiet little boy desperately wanted to learn, and he had the And then one day, a miracle happened. Elijah Streams sponsored a well in the village. And with the new well completed, dirty water and long trips for young and old was history.
We felt happy and peaceful when we learned that clean water was coming to our village. It was a moment of joy for us and everyone in the whole village.
The busing didn't end with clean water. These water wells have opened the door to helping the vulnerable children of Uganda. And God used one boy's question to bless all the orphans in the community. When John relayed the story of Constant to Mike and Lori Sally, Constant was added to the more than 900 children currently being sponsored by Elijah Streams, many of them orphans. And not just Constant, but several other children in this village as well. Constant's dream of going to school is now reality. It started with a water well that made life easier for the whole community, young and old.
Each time I think about it, the long distances we used to walk, and now water is near. It gives us great joy and happiness.
And beyond the clean water, it created an amazing opportunity for 10 children in this village to live better lives never before possible.
Kids like Constant, these are kids that can become someone who is so powerful in life. Kids that can change the situation in their villages. Kids that can act as an example to others that even at the worst, God comes through and does great for great people.
As for Constant, he wants to grow up to be an engineer like John.
Actually, I call him Engineer Constant because this is what he's gonna be.
God is doing mighty things in Uganda through the wells, the clinics, and the sponsorship of vulnerable children. That means God is using you to do mighty things. Thank you for your help in making it possible.
And as you know, we've mentioned that's like by October, I'm going to be back there in Uganda. We're going to dedicate the 1,000th well that you all have paid to have done. You all, our viewers, have just done that for us, for these beautiful people. And then this, at the end of last year, we started this in groups of 153, I think, if I'm remembering the number right. Then we changed the formula a little bit, but it's the official, he said over 900. I think the official number is 918 kids now that we've sponsored. And so you saw he was just wearing his street clothes, and then you saw him in school with a uniform on. That's one of the reasons they couldn't go to school, because you have to have a uniform and you have to pay for that uniform. They can't afford to pay for that uniform in school. So anyway, we just thank you all for that great that support, and you see how you change the lives of these people. So it's a big deal with us, with God, with these people, and for you too. So, all right, Dr. Scott, let's go ahead and soldier on. Oh, we want to do the questions. I need to just jump to the questions. Are you ready for those?
Yep.
Let me just scan here. All right, I'm just going to go these are viewer questions. Oh, and I'm supposed to announce everybody to let's just say that right now. We need you all to go to a website called questionsfordrscott.com. There it is right there on the screen, and write your questions there. Now those questions won't be for today because we have to accumulate those, and next time Dr. Scott is on, we'll ask those. Okay, so questionsfordrscott.com. If you hear something today, you go, oh, why didn't he answer this or that or whatever? So all right, we're gonna go and I'm just gonna go right in the order that these are all viewer questions. None of these are mine today. So and Dr. Scott, I'll make this appeal to you to each one of these, just kind of give fairly quick answers, because there's a bunch of them. We may or may not get through them all, but we would love to give you a whole long explanation, but we're going to have to give you short explanations so we can get through more of your questions. So with that in mind, first question is, how will NESARA impact the 501c3s? If someone has a nonprofit organization, how will NESARA affect that or be affected by that, or how will 501c3s be affected by NESARA? So go ahead and answer that.
Well, that's a tax status or a IRS status. I've always believed that what you're going to do necessarily, without having the IRS anymore, once we move into that status, is that I think what you're going to see is statuses of for-profit companies and nonprofit companies. Okay, so nonprofit companies, that we've always kind of seen this kind of point come out, is nonprofit companies would be, churches, for instance, are nonprofit companies. And what nonprofit companies normally would show is that they wouldn't have to pay sales tax. That would be the key, and that's where a lot of the original NESARA paperwork shows, is that they would be exempt from that sales tax, whereas profit-based companies while they wouldn't have any more flow through taxes either, they would still have to pay sales tax when they go buy a piece of furniture, or they buy a water bottle or whatever that might be. They would still have to pay sales tax on the front end.
Okay, so if somebody bought, I'm going to just say for their church, and they said, this is for the upkeep of the church, and we're going to buy a brand new hose for the church, and you don't pay sales tax on that, where if you're a for-profit company, you would have to pay tax on that.
Correct. And those would be the two status points. So I think what would happen is that you would keep those. You might still keep the 501c3, but it really wouldn't make any difference, because what Trump is calling it is the external revenue service. So what people might do is just call themselves a nonprofit company versus a for-profit company. And so for-profit companies would just show that I'm a for-profit company, and then they would still have to pay sales tax.
Yeah, and then on that, in case anybody didn't quite understand, maybe it'll be 14% or something that covers all your taxes, whatever it turns out to be, but you won't be paying income tax.
Right.
That sort of thing. Do you know, by the way, will capital gains taxes still be due, or will that go away?
No, those are all part of IRS. So
they'll go away.
Those are gone. So those are gone too.
Yay. Okay. What retirement changes? I assume they mean in your retirement funds.
Yeah. So those are always and I just did my TikTok channel, by the way, is drscottyoung.com. I just did a video about all those kinds of things. And I always want you to say, where do you have to pay those taxes? If you have to pay a tax That's always paid out to the IRS. Okay. But think about this. If I go and buy this cup, as soon as I buy the cup for 20 bucks, let's just make up a number. As soon as I buy the cup, they take sales tax directly out, right? As soon as I go to the cash register, they take the sales tax out. I don't have to do anything, right? They take the sales tax instantly out. Everything else is paid out by the IRS.
So in other words, right now, once this all change takes place, you'll not file any taxes at all. You just buy what you buy, and the external. Now, does the state get part of that?
I mean, yeah, the states would. I mean, yeah, every time you have sales tax, there are 3 levels of sales tax and a potential 4th level. Okay. The 3 levels of state tax were always city, state, and county. Okay. And so then there's the potential that we have this conversation is the federal sales tax. Okay. So that's what we'll see this 4th potential that's out there.
And do they all get paid at the same time through that one purchase? You
Yeah,
buy the cup?
always when you do this, and as a business owner, I have to do this. I have to pay that one, for a purchase. So like my business, has this really ugly tax. It's 8.517. I just have it memorized, right? And so, but in other cities, if your business is in another city, it's like 9.832 or whatever, and you memorize those things, and it depends upon the city, the county, and then the state.
Yeah.
And so that's the annoying part of that.
And then on that, I'll just say this again. I'm not an expert on how retirement accounts have been handled, but if you try to empty, when that all goes away, and you say, now here's your retirement account, and you want to empty it one day, you're not going to owe
Never
taxes or capital gains or inheritance. You're not going to have inheritance tax when you give it to your kids.
No,
that all goes away.
That's all. Those are all IRS kind of things. Those are what we're talking about in that way. I mean, this is the whole point of what we're dealing with that.
All right. Now, if debt, question 3, if debt goes away, with Nasara, meaning your corporate, your bank debt, your car debt, I guess, your house debt, when it initially changes over, how important is it then for FICO score, which is your credit score, right? Is that what that would that
Correct.
be a good?
So, for instance, how debt is calculated, or excuse me, how FICO, a credit score in essence is calculated, is your income minus your debt. So debt to income ratios. Well, then it's irrelevant, right? So how would you have a credit score if no one has any debt? Therefore, you're not going to have any credit scores necessarily.
Okay, so then afterwards, everybody's mortgage goes away. That's a one-off thing. Now they've got to fix something because some people are going to want to come along and buy a house. Now what? Do they have credit scores that begin to kick back in, or what?
They're going to have to recalculate. There's going to be some recalculations already they'll have to rethink those.
Okay.
And really what they're going to have to be doing is and they're going to have to be doing it on a lot of different levels. I mean, from credit card to smaller loans to larger loans. Okay.
Yeah.
They're secured and unsecured loans. So there's going to be a lot of this kind of conversation of how do we accomplish loans down the road? And that's going to be a banking conversation. I guarantee you that's going to be.
Here's a question that I have that you may or may not know of. You probably do, but I don't know the answer. If somebody then gets a new mortgage and they have whatever the new credit system might be, I assume everybody would start from zero or something. But when they get a mortgage, is that mortgage going to be a brand new type of instrument where they don't pay 3 times as much for their house?
Yeah. So one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit, and I have talked to bankers about this conversation. I've talked about this quite a bit, is that right now we deal with compound interest.
Yeah.
Which is this nasty,
builds on itself.
ugly a unbelievable number that you $300,000 loan that you pay over 30 years, that if over the time frame you paid it off in in calculations, what is it?
It was
You
like
paid
usually it's 3 times the
three
amount.
times the number, whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. A car loan, the same
yeah.
ridiculousness, right? But you can do a simple interest loan is what what we believe will be in vogue. So banks will go into those simple interest loans, and it'll be a much lower simple interest loans. So there'll be a fee and a simple interest loan type of thing.
Yeah,
And,
so for if you buy a brand new house and it's got a mortgage on it for the first number of years, you're only paying almost 100% interest. You're
well,
not even paying it down.
that's called a it's called a 7/8 loan. And it's
Jeez.
really interesting thing to look up. When my father-in-law was alive, they used to do this thing called 7/8 interest loan, and you guys can check it out. It's an old thing, and bankers used to hate it. I mean, or excuse me, they used to love that type of loan. And if you look it up, they thought it was they'll tell you it was part of the devil, and it is absolutely the most wonderful thing. And what you did is you paid the interest, so the bank got paid back because they have forked over their ability, their loan to you, right? It was simple interest, so it wasn't kicking you in the teeth, and so you had to pay the interest up front, and then after that time frame, then you got to pay the principal. And by the way, after that little portion, and it's not an ugly time frame, but after that interest was paid, you then were able to pay all principal, and every single payment you were paying
So do
principal
these loans, do you think they'll turn into 15-year loans just by default because you won't be
or
paying double
less. I mean, they,
or
they could be
less?
a lot shorter amount of time.
Wow. Think of that, a young couple starting in 10, 15 years from now, they're all paid off.
Well, think
And
about this. Go
yeah.
watch old TV shows and old movies. Or here's a good example. Old MASH episode. Colonel Potter got mailed the mortgage. Very
Okay.
old concept. This is in the 70s, and they used to burn their mortgage.
Oh yeah, we've seen that. Yeah.
This is no, Steve and I remember this thing, but maybe some of you people who are not in part of the baby boomer generation don't remember this.
Yeah.
But our parents used to burn their old mortgage. Okay, we're not talking the title, but the mortgage. Your parents would get their mortgage, they would burn their mortgage, and this is totally nuts to other people.
Yeah.
And that's the coolest thing. They would get that mortgage, that mortgage payment and burn it because that's what they did.
Yeah, it was party time. All right, let's go. Let's got a few more minutes here. I'm not 100% sure on the motivation of this. This is, will financial investment firms still exist? And I suppose that means, can you invest
Yeah.
somewhere or can you get loans from financial invest? I don't know which the question is. They
Yeah,
want to
you'll
know
still
that.
have investment banking. I think what banking is going to change dramatically. So bankers I think you're going to see a lot less you're going to see a transformative response in banking where they had all the cards,
Mhm,
where they thought they were all that in a bag of chips.
mhm.
Okay, instead of that kind of response, they're going to have to be much more, because now you're going to have no trust in them because you're going to find out so much information. They're going to have to be very transparent with you. And yet you're going to still do loans with them. And yet you're going to have to be they're going to have to be very transparent because you're going to have no trust with them. So, when you're going to do investing, the investing business has going to lost a lot of trust with them too. So that's going to require that same kind of response too. So how do you gain trust back when you've lost trust? By transparency.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that that happens. And by the way, I do a lot of negotiation. I do a lot of sales training, and the one thing that works is transparency. When I
Yeah.
when I interact with people, when I talk with people, I do it in transparency. If you don't want to interact with me in transparency,
And we'll zip here real quick. I'll get a couple more questions in. Would you personally expect that when I bought a houses here and there, cars the same, there's a stack of papers this big to buy that thing because there's hundreds and hundreds of lines of numbers. Would you expect those things to get a lot less tall?
very, very quick. There are going
Yeah.
to be things called smart loans that will be very, very straightforward and quick to do. And so you're going to see those smart loans very, very easy to work through. Titles are going to be a lot more effective because one of the things they're going to see is the states are going to be killing off property taxes as well, left
Yeah.
and right, because that's a state issue. It's not a federal issue. It's fascinating stuff. And by the way, someone asked the question. Robin asked this question. I'm going to hit this right now. Wonder
Go
where he
ahead.
gets this information from. Do you know why? I get people who call me all over the nation. I get people who call me all over the world. Congressmen, I get people who are lawyers, people who are telling me information left and right, and they communicate with me left and right to talk
Nice.
to them about the stuff.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
There's a couple more quick ones here. I don't. Maybe you know this. How does Nassara change life insurance policies? Would you know that?
How does it change the life insurance policy? Well, some of that stuff I think it still will be in vogue. I mean, you're still going to have the capability. You can't take away something that you paid for. So, Scott has $1 million life insurance policy, still is going to be available if I pass away in that circumstance. So you can't take away that capability. One of the things they've been doing is messing with people, and if oh well, you had a hangnail, so because you had a hangnail, we're not going to pay off the policy. That they're going to come down hard on the insurance companies. Who
Yeah,
have
let it happen, Lord. I mean, I can't do it to the nicer group of people.
really,
Well,
there's a special place in hell for a lot of the
yeah,
insurance.
well, I won't maybe go. Yeah, yeah, let's hope they don't go to hell. But I mean, these people that have been taking advantage, there's going to be so much more money in people's pockets compared. They will
Right.
actually have disposable income. Here, let me jump to 13 real quick. This will be our last one, but
Sure.
I'm just jumping to this one because people have this. Every time I see the list of questions, this kind is always on there. Do people who have been, and I'm going to put the word faithfully, okay? Do people who have been faithfully paying off their credit cards with high interest rates get any of that refunded as part of Nassara? So they're wanting to know, if I've paid my bills, if I don't have a bunch of debt, but I paid it off a long time, do I get some of that back? That's really the question.
And the answer is no. I mean,
Great.
listen, I've paid off all my debts. I mean, I have personal debt. I mean, I don't have any personal debts. I mean, I've been paying off my stuff, and the answer is no. It is a one-time event. Like, what if I paid off this loan? And the answer is it can't go. And wait a second, what about this? And what about that circumstance? And it is looking at the system. It's going bam. It's not like being what about the time frame when I had these loans and that loan, and looking backward over time, and what about all the circumstances of this and that? You can't make it fair.
Well, all of this is basically, I mean, I didn't get into the head of the people that originally created this, but this is like a biblical jubilee, year of jubilee. Every 50 years, I think it was, they had a jubilee. Whatever you owed had to be forgiven period. And I don't know if that was personal and everything. I don't even know if they had anything.
But you can't do it. But you can't make it. I mean, like if Scott dies tomorrow, we
Yeah.
can't make it fair. I mean, we
It's not
can't
fair.
make it
It's
perfect.
forever. It's like musical chairs. When the music stops, whoever still owes money gets it paid off. Whoever's already paid their money, you don't get something back. You just didn't happen to be having
Yeah.
any debt when the music was playing. So happy, happy days. But yeah, we could talk a lot about that. I think Trump has a bunch of more things in mind besides Nassara, like refunding money or giving money or tariff sharing of tariffs. In Alaska, for instance, my parents lived there for years. Everybody in the state at those years, like we're talking about the 90s and the 80s, my parents every single year got the state of Alaska paid them $800 at the end of the year. Every citizen was paid $800 because that was the oil revenues from the state. This is like that. It's like tariffs, and I think Trump's going to bring in so much money that he will start giving citizens a piece of the action.
But I always say this way, when you talk about fairness is a backward viewpoint. What I want people to focus on is what is in front of you. That is the big issue I want you to focus on. If you're focused on fairness, that's backward. Focus on what's in front of you, because God has got amazing things that is about to happen for you. Focus on the future, because that's the faith. The faith is the cool thing that is about to happen for you.
Yeah, without faith, it's impossible to please God. So, all right, Dr. Scott, I appreciate it very much. Very, very good. You guys send in your questions to that address we gave you. Put that address up there one more time. Questions for drscott.com. No other dots except .com. Questions for drscott.com. So, all right, Dr. Scott, thank you so much. This is really, really helpful. We could have spent another hour with great questions, but that's our time. You all have a great day. Thanks again. Enjoy Easter Monday, whatever that means. Somebody knows it. I don't know what Easter Monday is, but I know what Easter Sunday is. So this is the first day. All right. You guys have a great day. Tomorrow is Donna Rigney Sagan for 11 o'clock Pacific, so don't miss that. And all about her heavenly revelation she gets every single week, every time we bring her on. So see you all later. Have a great day, and see you in the morning. Bye-bye.